Hey everybody, happy Thursday. Hope everybody is doing good. It's a beautiful day here in the Midwest where I am, and I just got back from a walk, getting ready to read this blog to you, and then probably gonna go play outside with my girls. So today's blog is called Insides and Outsides. And the synopsis is, we all need a God who knows and loves our insides and our outsides. And this is from June of 2018. For those of you who don't know, I started a journey about 3 months ago, which would have been April of 2018, looking to find better emotional and mental health for myself. I was depressed, discontent, hopeless, and empty. My therapist has given me a lot of really great suggestions on this journey of self-discovery. Two of the biggest ones have been reading the book Loveable by Kelly Flanagan that I mentioned in my previous blog and also in a couple of my previous videos. And here is the front of it, Loveable by Kelly Flanagan. And also attending Overeaters Anonymous to address my eating issues. I was able to finally admit that I have been struggling all my life with food addiction that has led to out-of-control binge eating to try to numb out-of-control feelings. As of today, I have 60 days of abstinence in the OA program, which means I've gone 60 days without binge eating or using food as a comfort, a crutch, a drug, or a diversion. I've lost more weight in this two-month period than I ever thought possible, and I've acquired more life-changing things than I ever knew to ask for. It's been the most absolutely freeing experience I have ever walked through, and this is only the beginning. One of the life-changing things I've come across is a chapter in the book Loveable entitled Why We Need to Quit Looking into Mirrors. I have the entire chapter either highlighted or underlined, but here's just a few of the high points for me from this chapter. And I'm going to read it directly from the book because it's just easier for me. Okay, so this is from chapter 9 out of, again, Loveable by Kelly Flanagan. Why We Need to Quit Looking into Mirrors is the name of the chapter. If we are seen and mirrored well by the people we love, our life ceases to be a question asked and becomes an answer lived, if we are mirrored well. The problem is most of our mirrors, the people who could have reflected our hearts back to us, were cracked. Those we looked to for mirroring were, for the most part, not bad people, they were broken people. In other words, they were normal people. Still preoccupied with their own inner drama, they were too busy asking, "Who am I?" to answer that question for us. Still absorbed with their own search for worthiness, they were too distracted to mirror the worthiness in us. Still in search of their own mirror, they may have even used us as a mirror for themselves. Or, still cracked by their own shame, they may have cracked us a little bit too. Thus, as we grew bigger, so did the need for an answer to our question, who am I? If we can't find anyone to adequately mirror our heart, we'll settle for any kind of mirror we can find. And there is one kind of mirror we do not have to look hard to find: body mirrors. They're everywhere. In weight rooms, restrooms, makeup aisles, smartphones, and in giant stainless steel beans. And of course, in dressing rooms. In the absence of heart mirrors, we gaze into body mirrors, searching for the answer to our question of identity. And the shameful message slowly and subtly seeps into us. I am my body. I am my skin, my shape, my measurements, my weight, my firmness, and my youthfulness. I am my body, so I can make myself a better me by changing my appearance and preserving my youth. I can diet and exercise and poke and prod and have surgeries and get injections and buy more products. The numbers on the scale tell me who I am. The people who like or reject my body tell me who I am. The mirrors in the dressing room tell me who I am. So I'm going to skip over some of this because he's talking about some stuff with his daughter. I think the movement to accept our bodies is equally riddled with shame and just as doomed to failure, because the mind plays tricks. You can't think less about something by trying to think about it less. If, for instance, I told you not to think about white bears, all you would think about is white bears. And similarly, you can't accept something by trying to accept it. Whether you are looking at your body to judge it or accept it, you're still looking at your body. When you try to accept your body by focusing on your body, you are trying to solve the problem by practicing the problem. And the problem is this: if you look to your body to tell you who you are, you'll never get around to looking for your heart. If you're focused on your body image, positively or negatively, you'll never get around to focusing on your soul image. If you search for your identity on the surface of yourself, you'll never get around to searching for it underneath, at the center of yourself. So instead of obsessing about changing your body or accepting your body, what if you let yourself forget about your body for just a little while? What if you forgot about your body so you could remember your heart? After reading this chapter, I clung to the following statements as reminders of where my focus needs to lie. I am not my body. My value is not excuse me. My value is not based on my outside appearance. My worth is found within. And this familiar verse from 1 Samuel 16, verse 7, the Lord does not look at things people look at. People look at the outward appearance, but the Lord looks on the heart. These are all well and good until you're trying to fit your outsides into a swimsuit, which is where I found myself today. Remember, this is from 2 years ago. I was not swimsuit shopping today. However, when I wrote this blog, I was. Swimsuit shopping and battling my own mind in front of a dressing room mirror is where I found myself today. I wasn't trying to find a swimsuit that fit my insides. I was trying to find one that fit my outsides. Standing in that dressing room, dripping with sweat, thinking about how disgusted I felt looking in the mirror, I honestly tried to tell myself, I am not my body. That my value and my worth are not contingent on my clothing size, my weight, or how I look in a swimsuit. All these things are true in my head, but then why was this still so discouraging and frustrating? Why did I sit in my car and cry for 30 minutes after leaving the store? Why am I still crying as I write this? How can we ever come to terms with both sides of this? I don't have a clear answer for that except for another section from Loveable that jumped off the page at me when I first read it. It says this: the voice of grace doesn't challenge the story I've been told by my shame. It totally subverts it by reminding me of the rest of the story. The voice of grace doesn't try to disprove the voice of shame. It doesn't do a yeah, but, it does a yes, and. It disrupts all the internal debates, undermines all the second guessing, and avoids all the inner conflict. It says, yes, that may be true, and this is definitively true. Grace tells you you're a mess and also lovely, broken and also beautiful, full of darkness and light. Grace is the love that sees the ugly along with the beautiful, and joyfully holds both together in a tender embrace. And then my blog continues, and I say, can it really be both? Can I feel frustrated and also know I am not my body? Does that even make sense? I don't know. What I do know is that the enemy wants me to wallow in shame and self-pity. He wants to keep me bound to my insecurities. He wants me to throw in the towel and give up when it gets hard. I also know that I have placed my will and my life in the care of God. I have decided that I will trust Him to take care of my thoughts, my actions, and all the details that are out of my control. Does that mean I can trust him to figure out how to navigate swimsuit season? Yes. Does that mean I am willing to stop listening to the voice of shame and see myself through God's eyes? Yes. Does that mean I can choose to stop spinning out of control on the hamster wheel of destructive, demeaning insecurities and just rest in the security of his tender embrace? Yes. Does that mean I will stop yelling inside my own head about how frustrated I am and listen for his voice singing over me? Yes. I choose to say no to shame, no to the enemy, no to lies, no to my old ways of thinking. I choose to say yes to grace, yes to God, yes to truth, yes to freedom. Yes, it is frustrating, and I am not my body. Yes, it's still a struggle, and it's what's on the inside that counts. Yes, I need grace, and also worthy of that grace. Yes, I am a mess, and also valuable. Yes, I am broken, and also beautiful. And so are you. We all are. Maybe you don't struggle in front of the mirror. Maybe swimsuit shopping doesn't make you cringe inside. But all of us have something in our lives that will bring us to our knees if our feet aren't planted firmly on the rock solid foundation of the God who made us. He knows and loves every bit of each one of us, all of our insides and our outsides. So that is my blog for today. And I think I shared in yesterday's video, which was called Chosen by Who, that, and I have told, other people in my life this, that if no one else is helped or impacted by these videos, that I have been. Going back and reading these blogs from 2 years ago has been so meaningful to me to be able to relearn some of these lessons. And I actually had a pretty huge moment with God this morning, as far as my recovery goes with Overeaters Anonymous. And tomorrow, which would be May 1st, today's April 30th, tomorrow would have been 2 years of abstinence for me. And like I state in this blog, abstinence is refraining from food behaviors and destructive food behaviors, binging, undereating, overeating, what have you. And the only thing that I have been consistent with is that I've said no to desserts and candies and that kind of thing since day one, and I have stuck with that. But the idea of binge eating and using food as a comfort or a diversion, all the things that I said in today's blog, I have not been abstinent from those behaviors. And it has been, I would say, probably for about a year that I've been in relapse. And it has been a huge source of pride, and not being willing to admit that I'm in relapse because, and I shared this in a blog that I wrote today and shared on my website, I didn't want to be a failure. And the beginning of my journey was driven by the fear of failure. And I didn't want to admit that, that I was a mess, and that I wasn't really working my program the way that I said I was. I didn't want to be honest. And so going back and rereading these blogs is like, I think it's because these are the very messages that I learned at the beginning when I had so much success, that I'm loved and I have value and I have worth, and not for, just like I said in this blog today, not because of how I look on the outside, not because of my weight. None of that makes me valuable. That's not where any of my worth comes from. My value and my worth come from God. So regardless of what the numbers on the scale say, or however many days I'm abstinent, those things are a false sense of comfort and a false pride, or not a false pride. I mean, that was real pride for me. But anyway, I just say all that to just to be honest. Really, I don't know where I was going with that. So, but I think it's important for me, because I didn't want to share the blog that I shared, that I wrote today, about having to start my abstinence over. I didn't want to share that because that still being prideful and not really wanting to, because I've had all these blogs and things about all the ways that God has changed me and freed me, and it's real easy just to talk about all the good stuff, but I think a true sign of recovery comes from being able to show all sides of it. And I think that there is a lot of hope in that. Being able to admit, when you haven't gotten it right, and what you're doing to move forward. So that's where I'm at today. And this whole idea of shame that I've been talking about in all of my videos, there's a huge part of me that wants to feel shame for what I'm viewing as failure, but this is not me failing. This is just me learning. And sometimes learning is hard and learning is painful. But when you get to the other side of the pain, and you get to the other side of the lesson, the freedom that comes with that and the joy that comes with that, because I have experienced that. I can say 100%. At the beginning of my journey, I felt free from food addiction. But then they talk about when the honeymoon period is over, and then the real work sets in, and you have to figure out how to stay recovered every day of your life for the rest of your life. And that's hard. And so there has been real freedom, and there has been real joy, but there's been real life up in here. And it's hard to admit that, but it's my pride that doesn't want me to share those things, to stay isolated behind that wall of defense, and that only serves to keep me hidden, and there's no transparency or vulnerability in that, which is not how I want to live. And when I first started this program, not even really a program, when I first started my recovery, before I even started therapy 2 years ago, I just remember begging God, bawling my eyes out, begging him to help me not quit on this, because I've always been a quitter my whole life. If it's hard, I don't want to do it, so I quit. And so this recovery has been the one thing that I have not given up on. And maybe I should have waited a day or so to do this, talk about this, but this is the one thing that I have not given up on, outside of like my marriage and my kids, but and I would say, even though the last year has been a relapse for me as far as the food goes, there has been so much progress spiritually and emotionally and mentally that I don't know that I would have been able to come out of relapse and be able to be honest about, where I have allowed myself to go with the food, if I didn't have the level of spiritual and emotional growth that God has done in me over the last year. And so I'm definitely grateful for that. And I'm grateful to be able to take the things that I learned 2 years ago about how much God loves me and, my worth and my value and all of that. I'm grateful to be able to go back and relearn those things and really be able to apply them in whatever way it's needed. And so anyway, that is what's going on with me today. So yeah, that is just a real real vulnerable and transparent look at at what's going on. So I don't know if any of that is encouraging or helpful to anyone, but if you are struggling with any kind of addiction, I hope you know that you're not alone. That is one thing that keeps me coming back, is knowing that there are a lot of people out there who struggle the same as me. And giving up on the freedom that I know is possible that's not the answer, because there's no way that I could go back to the misery that I knew before I started recovery. There's no way I could go back to that. So I hope that, if you're in that place, that you would just keep holding on, keep hanging on, reach out and ask for help, because you don't have to go through anything that you're facing alone. I know I say that a lot, but it's true. No matter what you're struggling with, I'm sure there's at least one person in your life that you could reach out to talk to. And if you don't have anybody, you can talk to me. Leave me a comment, message me, let me know what's going on, and I would be happy to talk to you if you're struggling today. Oh, so I will be back tomorrow with a blog that's entitled A House That God Rebuilt. And it's just more of lessons that I learned 2 years ago at the beginning of this journey, and the transformation that God was doing in me at that time. And I hope everyone has a good rest of their Thursday, and I will talk to you guys tomorrow. Bye bye.